everybody. This is Diane. Welcome back to Biters for the second half of season 7. With me is
your zombified 30-something Brian. Welcome back. Welcome back.
And surprise, it's a trio this time. It's Marnell from Alaska, Diane's little sister.
Pikachu.
the real housewife.
You know, we were going to have a fourth person this episode, but he totally ran away with my car and all my canned goods.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Which one of you was stalking him from the back of the car?
Okay, so I missed that on the first watch. We will get to that.
Okay, I had a wise teenager here who pointed it out to me.
I didn't think they made those anymore.
Well, they happen every now and then, and that was his one moment of wisdom in like several months. So, so how are you guys? Happy Valentine's Day.
Yay.
Yes, happy Valentine's Day.
Brian's coming in hot right now, Valentine's tonight.
Yeah, I forgot about my kid's Valentine's Day party at school. So I was feverishly writing them out, getting them done and caught up. And I'm like, I'm going to be a little late.
Star Wars ones, right? That's what you said?
Yep,
cool.
episode 7, Valentine's. So got people killing each other.
I'm drinking out of my A Woman's Place is in the Resistance mug.
Ooh.
And I'm just drinking straight from the bottle.
Ah.
Because, you know, tomorrow's Valentine's. No, I didn't even realize, we didn't even realize it was Valentine's until like other people were, I thought it was actually on Wednesday. I mean, that tells you how much I care about it. So not that big of a deal, but, yeah, so on the Biters Facebook page tomorrow, everyone give us your favorite zombie Valentine. I think I have one to post, and all I did was go to Google Image and type in zombie Valentine, and so.
I didn't know they were capable of love. There's no love in the apocalypse, only emotion.
It depends on the genre, right? I mean, what was that? Warm Bodies was the zombie movie.
That doesn't even qualify. Stop it.
So if you want a funny zombie one besides iZombie, which is hilarious, Diane and I have been watching the Santa Clarita Diet on Netflix. Oh, yeah. It's super funny. I'm on episode like 6 or something. I think there's only 10, but yeah, Drew Barrymore, Timothy Olyphant. It's really funny.
It is pretty funny. And the
episodes are short. They're only like a half an hour long. So,
you goddamn hipsters.
All right. So The Rock and the Road. What'd you guys think?
Bleh.
Okay. Give us your rating.
2 bags of gold out of 5.
All right. What do you think, Marnell?
I'm going a little higher than Brian. 3.75 stolen long-range walkie-talkies.
And as usual, I'm rating it higher than anybody. I gave it a 4 out of 5 walking ball sacks.
Aren't we just the best trio? Like, you got one on one end, one on the other, and me in the cozy middle.
Sandwich.
Although this is coming off way dirtier than I expected it to. Yeah. Moving on.
Well, of course, there are no numbers. Obviously, The Rock and the Road was Rick's story.
Yes.
But also, I think Negan is The Rock and the Road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wah, wah. Yeah. I mean, that was obvious, right?
For numbers, too, I would just like to remind everyone, when the numbers do come in, we were up against the Grammys. So,
which screwed over Metallica, and I watched the Grammys only to watch the Metallica Lady Gaga mashup, which was awesome when the mic was actually working. I thought she did really well. She is a Metallica fan, and a little backstory to that is her and Lars are actually friends. They were hanging out at Bradley Cooper's house when she pitched him the idea of let's do a mashup. And then that's how it came into that. So she's a legit fan. Like, I read this thing. She's like, I've seen them live probably 10 times.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so she's like a legit Metallica fan. And that was, you could really see that. She wasn't just doing it because the Grammys paired them together. So it was good. It was, I a cool thing. I really enjoyed it, but God, it's terrible. Like they were so off. They cut Adele off. When she was doing her thing for best album of the year, they just shut the light off on her while she was talking.
Oh, that is terrible.
And it's just like,
the only thing I watched was the Bruno Mars Prince tribute. I watched a clip of that today and really enjoyed it. But
I've been seeing a few things where like Adele started her tribute over, and then she pulled like a Mean Girls, I'm going to share the crown thing with Beyonce, because once again Beyonce was robbed.
But hold on.
No, I love I don't say that. I love Adele. Like Adele's my lady. So like I'm not saying that she was robbed. Other people are saying that she's robbed.
No, and so let's address this right now. Beyonce wasn't robbed. Here's the thing. I don't like either of their music, period. However, Adele has an album.
Lay it on us straight, Brian.
With more than one song. So there was a funny meme out there, and it showed one of Beyonce's songs, and it was last year's song that was up for a Grammy, and it had like 4 producers, 7 writers, and all this stuff, and there were maybe 50 different words in the song, and it was really one verse repeated like 5 times. And then it showed a picture of like Bohemian Rhapsody, and it said 1 writer, 1 producer, and greatest song of all time. And it had like all the lyrics, and it's not, it's a plethora of lyrics and a lot of different words. And
I have seen a similar meme for like Bieber and Queen. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, why would you get album of the year? It's terrible. When you think about real things and making music, like bull crap, like terrible, terrible, terrible.
So I like them both, just to weigh in. But I think it's a tragedy and a travesty that David Bowie did not win a Grammy until after his death.
Which was bullshit, because he was up against Metallica.
But in fairness to you, Brian, and in all glorious things, Lady Gaga did get a Metallica tattoo.
Yeah, I've seen that. I think maybe that's a stencil. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, because
she actually like tweeted that it was real ink.
Okay, it could be real ink, but not under the skin.
Okay, so the jury's still out on the back tat.
Damn kids, anyways.
All right, so this will be pretty quick. Angela Kang was the writer. We have seen her name a million times. I looked her up again tonight just to refresh my own memory, and she has 16 episodes as the writer to her credit with The Walking Dead, and she's been with the series since 2012.
Yeah, isn't she that little brunette chick that's always on Talking Dead?
I don't know. Is she
okay?
Who was it?
Angela Kang.
Doesn't sound familiar. I have to see a picture. If she's cute, I'll remember.
She's not Maggie, okay?
Yeah. I'm not so like, I think Walking Dead Maggie is cute. British version of Maggie, not cute.
Really?
Yeah. When she's cleaned up, I'm out.
That is so funny. So, I was watching the back half of season 4 because I really like season 4. That's probably my favorite season aside from the first year. And she is way thinner in this season than she was in season 4.
Really?
Like she still had some pre-apocalypse roundness to her face in season 4.
Yeah, she's gaunt in this, and I was actually just noticing how skinny Rosita is, but everyone in their dang skinny jeans.
Well, it's appropriate for the zombie apocalypse. Olivia was an outlier.
Yeah, no, I needed to be able to like move around when I run, I'm no expert in what's that where you jump over stuff? Assassin's Creed's really good at it. Yeah, like I'm no parkour expert, but I'm pretty sure you need some looseness to your jeans.
Maybe there's spandex.
And that just makes me think of like the Georgia heat and spandex and running and yeast infection. No, no skinny jeans in the apocalypse.
See what happens when you uncork us after like 2 months? Oh my God.
No kidding.
We're all Metallica and yeast infection.
So the director was Greg Nicotero.
And his kids were in this episode.
Yeah, that was super cool.
That's adorable.
You don't watch The Talking Dead, do you, Bri?
I did this time to not have such a negative outlook.
It didn't help you, did it?
No.
The only other thing that I kind of did as prep was I looked up Xander Berkeley, the guy who plays Gregory, just because I thought the opening scene with Gregory was really funny.
Yeah.
And he's actually really interesting. His first piece of film ever, he played Christopher Crawford in Mommy Dearest.
Wow.
Which I'm totally dating myself, but I know Marnell knows that movie.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Yeah. No wire hangers.
And he's been in tons of TV and tons of movies. And he was in Sid and Nancy, which now I'm really dating myself because that's my era. But
I get the reference, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh.
I am disappointed because I just realized that my rating was supposed to be 2 rhetoricals.
That was pretty funny.
Damn
I have to admit, that whole scene with him was quite humorous.
He's such an ass.
He is an ass.
After that big speech where like Maggie was like, it's Maggie, and like he was all freaked out. Like he's gone back to like calling her Margaret and stuff. Yes. I'm just like, oh, you're such a D-bag.
It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he lands because
he's going to die
figurehead at this point. But
I don't know. I don't know if a walker's going to get him in some like graphic way, or if Negan's going to put his head on a spike or what. But I mean, he's going to die horribly. Or I have no more faith. Not
that you're wishing it or anything.
Oh, I'm totally wishing it.
Damn.
I hate guys like that. Like, well, I like Negan better.
Damn. All right, somebody lead us into an epic.
What?
Did you have one?
Epic.
So, okay, here my epic is a contingent epic, and
mine is too, though. To be fair,
Marnie and I talked about this a little earlier.
Ah, okay.
My epic is that they crammed all the sucky parts from the back half of this season into this episode. If that's in fact what they did. Because I'm sorry. This was it was really the open. I was like, ooh, where is this going?
Yeah.
And then I was like, that's it. All right, I'm going to go to bed now. See you guys later.
Not even the cliffhanger got you? Not even the Rick smiling at the end?
No.
And so obviously the zombie slice didn't get you.
He has a whole rant about that we will get into later. Him and I already went through this while you were off.
Well, I was trying to figure out whether or not I could record, and I couldn't record, so Brian's recording.
Yeah.
See what happens when you give me time off?
I guess so. Jesus.
You were gone for like 15 seconds, and him and I went through the entire episode.
All right, well, Marnell, what was your epic?
My epic is an epic-ish.
And you rated it how high?
3.75.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So mine is actually contingent upon whether or not they're going to go where I think and where I hope that they're going to go. But so we get Morgan back this episode. Morgan comes back into the fold. That's great and everything. And he doesn't reveal Carol's secret, which I'm kind of proud of him for that, because we talked about this earlier this season, that like we're all kind of sick of Carol, having a death wish, just
right.
Like let her die or whatever, just quit whining. So we get Morgan back, and Morgan admits that he killed for Carol. And, that's a huge step in the world of Morgan, is that he actually killed somebody. And then when we all go in and meet King Ezekiel, and Morgan's standing there, and Sasha starts listing off Rosita starts listing off everyone that Negan killed. And the look on Morgan's face is just like, it's like he has this epiphany, like, oh my God, like, this is this is happening. This is awful. Like, we're going to have to do something about this, blah, blah, blah. But then he's all like, well, maybe we could talk to him or just kidnap Negan or... Meh.
Which is...
No. What?
No, go ahead.
And that's what I'm saying is I'm like, if he doesn't circle back around to that, no, we're going to have to bust some heads. I'm going to be very, very upset because I would really like to see the old Morgan back. And I think we got a little bit of a glimmer in that, he was like, oh my God, Abe's dead and Glenn's dead and Olivia's dead and what's his name?
Spencer.
Yeah, Spencer. And then the other one's missing and they had Daryl and you could see it right there that, the old Morgan is just like, screw this non-killing stuff. We got to go get these guys. And then I don't know what in him pulls him back or what breaks him. I think it's the influence of King Ezekiel too. Don't get me wrong. I love King Ezekiel, but he's very, very don't rock the boat. And I think Morgan is very comfortable there for now. And then later on in the episode, we see that comfort, how long, as Rick's group is leaving and they're saying, how long is the peace going to last? And then we see just how long the peace is probably going to last towards the end of the episode. And so my goodish is the possibility that Morgan is back.
I'm laughing at your good-ish. So what about that was epic? Just that maybe that was kind of sort of Morgan there.
Morgan is a badass killer, and to see him come back after we've lost so many would be such a huge advantage in what we're ramping up to.
Okay, so it was not my epic, but I have to say I felt really cheated by Morgan because I too saw the brief glimmer of Morgan in admitting that he killed that guy. But you just gave me something to think about. I think the reason he suddenly got all wishy-washy when he was in front of King Ezekiel was he suddenly had it hit him as reality, as you said, when Rosita started listing off who got killed. And I think that might be the thing where he was like, oh, yeah, right. That's the real price of all of this.
Yeah, but Morgan, of all people, knows that you can't just go along to get along in this new reality.
Does he?
So can I think you guys are looking at this wrong. I think, and I believe that Morgan was pissed off. Nobody gave a crap that he killed somebody. When he was telling Daryl and Rick, they're just like, yeah. Okay.
I did expect him to react more, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
They don't care. They know
that was
he
a big
abandoned
moment
them.
for Morgan. Yeah.
And they're just like, you abandoned us. I don't care. Who cares? You're somebody else's problem right now, not mine.
And not just killing to save himself, he killed to save Carol. Mm-hmm. So he was having a moment, and it was completely glossed over by the others. I get where you're coming. I get where you. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, I think we have more to see out of Morgan. Obviously, we have more to see out of Daryl. Well, I'm sure we'll talk more about that in Rotting Potpourri. But I did think that Ben has a much higher chance of influencing Ezekiel at this point than anybody else does.
Absolutely.
So my epic was the new group because they were not really what I expected to happen. Rick's reaction. So I'm kind of torn between thinking he was smiling because he recognized somebody. He almost looked like there was a moment of recognition. But then, I've talked with other people who say, no, he's just happy to see an army.
Nope.
He's happy to see guns.
Happy to see guns?
He knows. So my prediction is, well, it's one of two things. One, Morgan's there and he brought all the food and supplies to these people because this was one of the original people outside of the gate with the boot and the coat that he had already talked to and secretly negotiated with. And they said, we'll come and join your fight if you can help us out with supplies. And he's like, okay, I'll give you everything we got for all your guns and help.
You mean Gabriel, not Morgan, but
whatever. Yeah. So that's one theory. theory 2.
So I want to add to that before you go to theory 2, because I have to give props to my friend Lori, who's been listening to us. Hey, Lori. She said that she thinks the person with the boot, who is now this person who led up this mysterious group, is actually Davidson. She said, of all of the people that the kingdom talked, or not the kingdom, that Alexandria talked about who they banished, she said the only person that they bothered to name was Davidson. And he was the person who seemed like the biggest threat.
That would be
cool. Way to go, Lori.
I don't know if it's happening, but I was like, ooh, good theory. And she was right. He really moved around Alexandria like he knew Alexandria. He or she. I don't know. It could be one of the people that's banished, though. I think you're right, Brian. I think Lori's right. So you go. So,
Brian, what was your second part?
The second
because I have something too.
The second is Rick thinks they all think he's with Negan, and they're coming to kill Negan, and he knows I'm not with Negan, and these people are all ready to fight with me. He just has to explain it. No, I'm actually not. Here's where I'm from. I will show you where I'm from, and we're actually building an army that you've already built as well. So we're here to help you.
So who are they? Are they just another group?
Oceanside.
Are they? So I looked at it and I thought, I initially thought it was Oceanside, and then when I looked harder, no, there were too many men.
Yeah, I was going to say we debated about that.
I didn't see any men.
Yeah, there were.
I just seen ugly women that were dirty.
Nice.
I'm just in the piss everybody off mood.
Oceanside women. Oceanside women are like the dwarfs from Lord of the Rings. Their beards are shorter.
Oh, good point.
Yeah. So no, the split was about 70-30. It was mostly women, but there were definitely some men in there. And so here was our theory on the rewatch. We actually didn't pick up until the rewatch that when Father Gabriel leaves, that somebody sits up from the passenger seat, a shadowy figure. I didn't see that the first go around. I don't think they talked about it on Talking Dead. I wasn't paying that good of attention to Talking Dead, to be honest. But on the rewatch, that person sits up. But so Father Gabriel's up in his watchtower and he's, looking around. He doesn't look like he's like looking for anybody or like waiting for a certain moment so that he can leave and go raid the pantry and the armory and everything. He's totally chill. He picks up that Bible and he reads something and something clicks in him and he makes a decision and he gets down. And he goes and he starts frantically gathering supplies. He wasn't in a hurry before this. And all of a sudden he's frantically gathering supplies and checking the inventory and everything. And then he leaves. So at the end, our theory is somehow, and I don't know how they got together, whoever this shadowy figure is the person with the boots at the end of the mid-season break.
Right.
Who is part of this other colony of people who have managed to survive, but they're starving, they need weapons, whatever. That's how Father Gabriel knew about the boat, because he wrote boat. How would he know that?
But I kind of felt like he gathered all that stuff up under duress.
I don't.
Like, he was sweating. He looked frantic. I thought he was either doing it because he was guilty and freaked out because he was leaving. That was my first thought. But then when I saw the person in the back of the car, I was like, oh, no. He's being forced out by somebody. Somebody's forcing him to rob. Yeah. Blackmail or to rob and take stuff out of the pantry at gunpoint. I don't know. But I thought that they kind of forced his hand.
It's kind of a callback to how we met Father Gabriel in that he
Good point.
Yeah. And so I think that we're meant to think that he's just going back to his old ways and in it for himself.
I don't actually think that, though. I think that we're meant to think that initially, but I think ultimately what happened is that one of the people from this group got him and forced him to raid the supplies for them.
See, and the thing that makes me think that he wasn't forced is at the end when Rick smiles, I think he sees Father Gabriel amidst all of the people. And Father, he left his Bible. That's very unlike him. And I really think that there is going to be some sort of clue in the Bible about what triggered him to do this. In that, Father Gabriel is going to, help create this army and help lead this army against Negan. And so he voluntarily did this.
All right, now careful. Yes. You're sounding like your podcasting preacher.
Yeah. So I will further add to this argument in that if you think about his story arc and how proud he was to make his first kill in defense of the group, and how Rick responded and how prideful it made Father Gabriel feel to be welcomed back into respect again with Rick. And he knows that he has to do bad things to protect his flock, which is his group. I don't think he's ever going to turn his back on the flock anymore. And I believe that this was him making a conscious decision. And I will go one step further in saying he didn't tell anybody about it, because if there's one person in the whole group that Negan is going to believe he's telling the truth no matter what, it's going to be Father Gabriel. So Father Gabriel knows that I can hold secrets in my head because they're going to believe me over everybody else.
Right.
So if he's been talking with this person while he's on watch the last couple of days and saying, hey, we're getting an army together, can you bring an army to fight? Yes, we can, but we do need supplies. Can you help us out? He, just like Marnell said, he decided that, okay, I am doing this right now. And he knew he had to hurry and get it out before anybody was aware of what was going on, because he knew that if his people showed up, or if Negan's people showed up and anybody knew, they would have a crack. They can smell a lie.
Oh, okay. That's fair. Yeah. I like that. Okay, but I'm going to throw one more thing at both of you. So in the sneak peek for next episode, they show someone from that group basically saying, your lives are ours now and you have to buy them back from us. So it doesn't seem like that group has the greatest of intentions toward our survivors.
Considering what everyone's been through in the apocalypse at this point, everyone is distrustful of everyone. I think the outlier to that is the Kingdom. The Kingdom are very weird in that they seem like, when they first went into the Kingdom, I looked at it and I'm like, that would be Woodbury if the governor hadn't been a psychopath. But they, I think the Kingdom is the outlier in that they're so welcoming to strangers and trusting and blah, blah, blah. But I think everybody else haven't had the walls, they're basically feral at this point and they don't trust anybody.
Okay. Corkscrew time. Everything that The Walking Dead shows us in previews is meant to
mess us up. Yeah.
Right. So what if that line is after the terms are agreed upon? I will help you fight, but your lives belong to us now, and you're going to have to buy them back after we help you.
I like it. I like it.
It's always like that.
I'm willing to see that because I agree. You're right. I should never, ever, ever believe anything that comes up in a sneak preview.
God, yeah, what's the matter with you? Jesus.
Look what happens when we take a 3-month break. We would never survive in the apocalypse, Di.
Well, I would unfortunately probably be one of Negan's lesser wives because I would be sucked in and suckered in, hook, line, and sinker. All right, so let's move on. Who's got to fail? Who wants to lead?
Brian, you led last time, so I think you should. Plus, the whole episode was a fail for you anyway, so let's just get that out there.
Oh, so you want me to start?
Have at it, brother. Oh, go for it.
Ooh. Okay, well, my fail is just how everybody was reacting to Ezekiel. Like, we go through the whole thing again. You know, how Carol Morgan was goofy, and then Carol was goofy, and then we come in, and everybody's goofy with him again. Like, to me, it's annoying, because Rick has the smarts to go along with the vibe in the room. Not just be, like, kind of defiant and kind of mocking the kingdom aspect, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's just kind of like, what do you mean? They're on horses? What's going on here? Brr. I don't do this. Like, stop it. You guys know the routine. You know what's going to have to happen. So it was all kind of just real wishy-washy. That just is starting to wear on me, that everyone has this adjustment period when walking into the King Ezekiel, and they kind of make fun of it, and that whole component of that. That's my fail.
Well, I think that's the last time we'll get to see that, because I mean, I think other than at this point Eugene, everyone knows the king.
Well, but we have possibly 2 groups who haven't met him yet.
Possibly, yes.
The new group.
The side and the hobos.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I have to tell you guys, Josh McDermott tweeted out that they were emo kids with guns.
But I don't think that we'll actually see them be introduced in the throne room like everyone else has been. I think the effect is worn off. I think Brian's right that it's run its course. And I actually thought the group was very nonplussed about King Ezekiel. They were like, holy crap, a tiger, and whoa, guys on horsebacks, like horses survived the apocalypse. Like, how'd that happen?
They weren't hanging out with our group. That's why.
Right. Other than that, I think they were just like, okay, Camelot, like, we'll totally roll with your Shakespearean repertoire.
There were some pretty good looks on the faces in that room. I actually rather enjoyed that scene.
All right, so what's your fail then?
Well, my fail was pretty small, but I didn't like the scene between Eric and Aaron. I just didn't like.
Yeah.
Well,
I just didn't like the
who's
tone
turn
that
on
it struck.
Everybody now, right?
Right, and that just doesn't seem like Eric.
Yeah,
you think so?
And it doesn't seem like somebody that Aaron would be with. So yeah, I was just really disappointed by that whole thing, and I'm hoping that it's just a bump in the road.
A rock in the road?
A rock in the road, exactly. Or that Eric doesn't turn out to be a rock in the road, because that whole scene was a real bummer.
Okay, if he does,
Snitch,
if that
bitch.
does happen, I really don't. I really hope it doesn't for Aaron's sake. Yeah, for Aaron's sake, really. But I really hope it doesn't. But if he does, I really hope that like very soon thereafter, Eric dies.
So I will tell you this.
Yeah.
So here's my bit of evidence that's going to be him. These two are the only people who have a happy relationship in the apocalypse.
Oh no! That and Rick and Michonne.
Well, but they've had their ups and downs, Rick and Michonne. So,
yeah.
And they haven't been together that long.
So you want to hear something funny about Eric?
No.
Well, I'm going to tell you anyway. So, Eric is a member of Blue Man Group.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since 2007. Isn't that crazy?
So he's got other contractual obligations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Therefore, the happy relationship is doomed.
By the way, my prediction is somebody is dying next episode because, of course, the Talking Dead has a special surprise guest. It's about 50-50, so we'll see. But nobody died this episode. So
for the first time in a while. Well, not for the first time in a while. I mean, I actually expected more death and mayhem than what there was at the beginning half of the season. And by the way, there are still people who are bitching about how violent the first half of the season was. So I just have to go off on my usual tear about,
eat a dick.
Guys, this is the zombie apocalypse. Exactly.
It's not IPTV. It's not public television. It's cable. Okay.
We're not going to make them into happy birds.
So if anyone ever does check out the Santa Clarita Diet, do not eat in the first 10 minutes of the episode. I was eating pork tacos.
Right on.
Yeah, so don't eat. I couldn't I was literally looking at the floor while the first 10 minutes of the episode was going by. So there are worse things out there, and Santa Clarita Diet's a comedy. So
this is where all letting our geek hang out. Nathan Fillion has a brief role in it too, which is pretty awesome.
Yes, he does.
Okay, it's your turn.
Totally squealed like a little girl when he came on screen.
All right. You need to erase that image of James and give us a fail.
My fail, and I actually thought you were going to have this as your fail, Di. It was Rosita and Sasha's little moment.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell, Rosita? Why you gotta throw shade like that? Like, what was the point of that?
I think it was cool. Are you kidding me?
Oh. Are you serious?
Yes. Of course you did. You're such a mean girl, Brian.
No, it's the whole point of just because he's dead doesn't make it okay. You cheated.
No, just because we had sex with the same dead guy doesn't mean we're friends.
But they had such a great moment, like, after he died and everything, and I thought that was all behind them.
No way.
I thought the catalyst was going to be that stupid necklace. I thought, like, Rosita was going to see Sasha wearing the necklace, but, I assume it's still hanging on his grave. Rosita's got a chip on her shoulder right now, and that does not bode well for her life expectancy. Okay. And I really like Rosita, so I really don't want her to die. So she needs to buck up, Buttercup.
I'm going to launch into my fail because Rosita was a snag hag during this episode.
Oh,
she was miserable.
A total babe.
And would you please her pants are too tight and she has an infection. That's her problem.
I love her.
When did she become a munitions expert?
Backstory. So here you go.
Yeah, I think that's
but tell me why we're only finding out now. Tell me why we have had 3 seasons with this woman.
She learned it from
now
Abraham.
We're finding out. We're finding out
because Abraham was the person who's always done it. He taught her the whole time, and now it was her time to step up. And I think that's why it re-clicked in her head that she's pissed off at Sasha, because the knowledge that she obtained from her lover over the last 3 years, Sasha moved in, swooped in,
and was
banging him on the side, and was robbing her of those feelings. So now she did that, and she knows she could do it because of Abraham. It's going to come up later, but I will also tell you, I think she's going to die this season because she has been super active on Instagram the entire time.
Oh, interesting.
Now it's like blackout with her on Instagram, which means...
Damn you, Brian. I hate it when the mean girl is a sympathetic character.
And that usually means...
I'm talking about you, not her.
No, she's a babe, dude.
Even with the scar, that just adds a little touch of hotness.
Yeah.
I did like the little bit of snark where she was like, I told you I didn't like the look of that. The little piece of dynamite.
Yeah.
Okay, so Brian, probably the only one of us in this imaginary room who has any real munitions experience. Is all that stuff really that fragile?
Yes.
So it depends. There was a couple of things that I noticed. So I dealt with all this stuff in the service, every single bit of it. If it's unstable and the wrapper is broken, I absolutely wouldn't risk it in a heartbeat. Just like she said, if it's damaged, nicked, anything, no. But like, you can have the stick of dynamite in your hand and you can flip it up in the air and fart around with it.
Okay, so like the whole Rick like shaking and setting it on the ground.
Yeah, no,
that was a little
BS.
Dramatic.
Yeah, okay. That was total BS. And one part of my potpourri was when the big explosion went off.
Right.
That doesn't happen.
There was nothing to trigger it, right?
Well, it was the unstable ones that blew up
right
next to that can of gas. Well, first off, that's a whole bunch of gas to make that big flame. But when explosives go off, they do not make flames. The only time you see anything is just a very brief flash, and that's only in dark, or if you have an overcast sky, you'll see a brief, like, quarter of a second flash. So all the flame is just gasoline. So, sorry.
So we are the only Walking Dead podcast that has a munitions expert. Ha!
Damn right. Eating crackers.
So, I won't kick you out of bed for eating crackers.
Yeah.
I actually cannot find the story, and I don't know if it's still active or not, but there is actually, what I heard was there was a site somewhere here in Alaska, it's near one of our smaller towns, where there's like a container outside of town that has a bunch of dynamite in it, sweating nitroglycerin, and they have to go and like spray it down with a chemical every year or so because it's super unstable. and they can't remove it.
That.
Yeah, they can't.
So that's
remove
old stuff. Yeah, I mean that's old stuff. So
yeah,
it's happened here. I read a story a few years ago where these kids were out playing in the shed and both were killed. They found this old abandoned shed way out yonder, and it had a bunch of old dynamite in it from the old mining days. And they were in there playing it, and they disturbed the thing, and boom, the whole thing blew up. But if it's old, it's unstable, and that's what can happen.
Well, we do have a bunch of stuff from World War II kicking around Alaska, so...
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
All right.
Go, yeah. What do we got? Epic
Next fail. Somebody else needs to do a fail.
So, let's see. Yeah, mine wasn't... I thought we were doing good, bad, ugly. Mine was a good, ugly.
Well, then give us that.
And it will actually be a nice segue into another fail that Brian's going to tell us about.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really, really loved the wire scene, the 2 cars in the wire. So they were starting to set it up, and I could see what was going to happen. And I totally yelled out, "Oh my God, they're going to ghost ship this." And I said a bad word that I'm not going to say on the podcast. So at the beginning
I love that movie, by the way.
I do too, and I love the beginning when everyone gets cut in half by the wire. And I love it when movies do that. Like in a couple of the Resident Evils, they have that room that like cuts you in half or cuts you in squares or whatever. You know, for some reason that effect just floats my boat. I mean, like I love. You know, the whole, I could see that coming, and I was like, they're going to go ship it.
You are so happy. Woman.
Yeah, I am. I totally am. Yeah.
So, you should mention that.
Yeah, Brian hates this scene. We've been through this.
So I like this scene. Like, it was cool, but if it was in, like, season 3, because that's when gas still exists. I don't know.
Okay,
I was just watching this with,
too.
like...
Does everyone have a...
No.
Wait, does everyone have
gas.
No, the stuff that you put in your like snowblower or your lawnmower at the end of the year that keeps your gas from going bad.
But that's not going to work in the cars, right?
No,
not going to operate.
Well, it's not going to work for 3 years and heat.
Exactly. And so it drives me nuts. The gas is still combustible too.
Well, and so here's the other thing. Truthfully, if the saviors were the ones who put all those cars where they did, they would have totally robbed all of those cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, just want to say, I knew that was the stretch where they filmed Sophia's disappearance. I knew that was. So I was happy to have that confirmed in Talking Dead.
That's funny.
Same stretch from season 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a boss.
So tell us what you loved or hated about was it just that to me, I was watching it again tonight. And I was like, okay, there's no way that those 2 cars would be even enough
strong enough,
keep that wire taut enough for that gag to really work.
Because it would totally pull you in, and you would wind up like, it would pull the car to the left or right, depending on where the wire is attached. It would totally pull the car off course, hitting
it would need like monster trucks.
Yeah, hitting the first like 24 walkers, and they would have not been able to keep that straight, steady line with the taut. Yeah. I get where it's like I said, I love it. It's a very cool effect, but I get it is totally not practical. And yeah, Brian, that bugs me but gas should not be combustible at this point.
I don't
but of
know.
course, it is
like
the zombie apocalypse. So
yeah, I was just like super pissed off. I'm just like, I'm going to nitpick the crap out of this episode.
Brian believes in zombies, but not magical gas.
Right.
Okay. Well, at least we've established the boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the unicorn and is the zombie apocalypse. It's just, it's too far beyond belief.
That's right. It's science. Come on.
All right.
What's your epic?
Oh, yeah, Diane didn't get an epic.
I had an epic. I didn't have.
I'm sorry.
Epic fail. I snarked about Rosita.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your epic fail was mine.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I snarked about Rosita.
Okay.
All right.
Oh man, that's rotten potpourri. What are you doing? I was like, what is she doing? Like, she doesn't sniff a microphone like that.
It's about time.
It's magical gas. That's what you smell.
Yeah, that's quit sniffing the gas.
All right, I'm going to go first because I don't want to forget to do this. So Kirk Manley, one of the founders of this podcast, has some prints out that I shared on Facebook. Brian, all of our Red State listeners, just take a deep breath. They're She Persisted posters using Walking Dead themes, and I personally love them. I know Bry's not going to, but I had to say it. Go check Kirk out at kmstudio.com. Kirk, we love you.
Yes. Seriously, looking at buying one of those.
Somebody else's turn.
So one thing that I will side with Ezekiel for a little bit because I understand where he's coming from.
That he doesn't want to risk more.
Yeah. He's like, look, I get what you're telling me, but at the end of the day, you want me to risk my entire kingdom for some strangers. At the end of the day, I haven't dealt with Negan like you have because I give them what they want every single time. And there you go.
So the question that I have about that philosophy is he talked about how he wanted to have more places like the kingdom and how he wanted to see the kingdom expand. And I'm just not sure how that vision is going to run parallel to his vision of placating.
Well, he tried to, and he failed. That was the whole point. Is I was expanding,
right? But he talked about wanting it to happen again. He talked about still having that as his vision.
Well, I think it's more of a pipe dream at this point, just because he knows what's capable now. At the next episode or two, when they have the showdown, I think the biggest advocate for going to war is going to die. I think Negan's people are going to kill him to make an example because Ezekiel's getting brave, and they're going to kill him on the spot.
You think they're going to kill Ezekiel, or you think they're going to kill Benjamin?
Yeah, the guy in the armor. No, the guy in the armor. No, the guy in the armor.
Richard.
Yeah, I think they're going to, because he's like, give me your gun. And he keeps getting into it with that guy, and they're going to teach him a lesson. They're going to kill him on the spot. Boom.
I really don't want Richard to die because I really love Richard, and I think he could be a really awesome character in this series. But I'm afraid that you're right.
Unless I'm going to disagree with you, unless he shows somebody his little bunker of stuff that he's hiding in the woods. Because otherwise, what was the point of showing us that?
I bet you he'll show it to Daryl, because I think he and Daryl are going to be allies.
Or Morgan or Jesus?
I think Daryl.
Yeah, I guess Daryl is staying there, isn't he?
Yeah.
So here's my thing about Ezekiel, and you guys just kind of made me realize this. He is actually very similar to Gregory. Let me explain before you freak out. So in the beginning, Gregory made this big speech about how you have to count the blessings that you have now, and the life you want isn't always the life you're going to get, and yada, yada, yada. Both of them don't want to get involved, but they would really like to see somebody else take care of business. So neither of them want to get their hands dirty, but I think that Ezekiel, of course, will. And at this point, other than the whole obvious, kingdom and comic book stuff, and do you guys remember what story time was with Ezekiel?
Oh, it was Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream
speech.
Yeah.
So that speech by Martin Luther King Jr. was about, it began with a reference to the Emancipation Proclamation that freed all of the slaves, and a lot of the speech referenced ending hatred and slavery and all this kind of stuff. Well, everyone's Negan's slave, and there's a lot of hate going on, and I really think that was sort of a precursor to what we're going to see. Otherwise, why wasn't, he reading him wink and blink and a nod? I mean, what was the point of that story other than to insert that little nugget of that sliver of hope that Kingdom will step up?
Okay. But I'm gonna piss Brian off even more. I think it was Walking Dead getting political.
Sociopolitical.
Yes, which, we'll leave that where it is on the table just to stare us all in the face. But I also think that that aside, it speaks to to Ezekiel's character. And it does speak to where he's different from Gregory, because he still clings to ideals like that. He may be afraid. And I think you guys are right. I think he's looking to someone else to take care of the problem, but he'll fall in line. But he has higher aspirations and more noble ideas of people than Gregory does.
Absolutely.
So I will say no to political statement. This would have been written last year, March. So I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it's just coincidental. I don't think it does. Just because that would be stuff that Ezekiel's familiar with. If you think about his age, he's in his 50s, maybe 60s. So that stuff would have been very fresh and knowledgeable to him. So he is looking for those moments of inspiration. He's looking for those things, and you can't go to the internet to find your favorite quote of the day. So he's using what he's been taught when he was a child. And
he's using things that he's memorized. Yeah.
And if you think about it, this kid that he's putting to bed doesn't even know who Martin Luther King Jr. is.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when this apocalypse happened, he was probably 5 or 6, so he wouldn't even know. So,
but I think that the writers inserted that just as not a socio-political statement on the current times, but a socio-political statement on the whole,
being enslaved by Negan.
Being enslaved by Negan, yes, yeah. And so that's kind of where I was going with that.
I don't know, you guys. I follow Gail Ann Hurd on Twitter.
No, I don't think they would risk that.
Nah, you're probably right.
The show's already on thin ice. I don't think they would risk it.
They're pretty outspoken as individuals. I mean, as individual people, but I think you're right that they would not politicize AMC's cash cow.
Yeah.
No, well, I don't think AMC would let them.
Yeah.
But I think if you do go back and just isolate the speech that Gregory made at the beginning and the couple speeches that King Ezekiel made about not wanting to go to war, I really think that those two guys are very, very similar in the ways, that the way that they want to. I think Gregory is more out for protecting himself, and Ezekiel's out for protecting his community. But it was very, very similar if you take out the cowardly lion in Gregory. But
that's a diss on the cowardly lion, man.
Yeah, I definitely thought Gregory was going to get usurped this episode.
Me too. By Bernie in the group,
But they just keep pushing that down the road, which makes me think there's going to be a lot of snitches. Well, there's going to be a lot of snitches. And there's going to be a lot of people running to Negan for protection for information.
I can see Gregory doing that.
It's going to be Gregory. It's going to be Eric. There's going to be people from each area that go and try and foil the plans.
Yeah.
To try and say this. Gregory knows at some point we're going to die, but I'm living a little bit longer just by cooperating. And I know that.
So I'm wrong about Benjamin, aren't I? Like, I thought he was going to be the snitch. I thought he was the one spying for Negan. I want to be wrong about Benjamin, and I'm totally willing to admit that I was wrong, that he's a Negan snitch. He's actually like a good kid, and he's going to turn out to be kind of a hero, even if he does, die horribly or something to be the hero. But Benjamin isn't the nefarious character that I have been making him out to be, is he?
Well, I thought he was just going to try and kill Ezekiel because he was going to blame Ezekiel for his father's death, and then once he got good enough, he was going to kill him. But yeah, I think you're right. I think he is going to be, I don't know what you want to call it, the martyr.
You are both horrible. I totally had no suspicions about Benjamin whatsoever.
He wanted to read Morgan's book and Morgan to teach him, and that whole thing about something about his dad getting killed, and I think Ezekiel was to blame. There was this whole thing, and he was like creeping around, and I had my suspicions about Benjamin, but
oh my god,
we thought the same thing about Enid too.
That's true. I'm still not 100% on Enid.
Don't trust kids, period. Kill them all. No. When the apocalypse happens, kill. Yep. When the apocalypse happens, kill every child there is.
Yeah. I'm sure Terminus would tell you that they taste better too.
They're tender. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like veal.
All right. On that note, I'm going to take us back to the kingdom because that's part of my writing potpourri. So I just liked all of the little touches. I liked seeing the troops working out. I liked seeing the kids training in archery.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys notice that one of the songs that was played was Life in a Northern Town? Reworked? Yeah. Yeah. So I just like all those little touches. I think it really sets a neat scene for that environment. And I also heard on Talking Dead that they actually take the produce that they grow in the kingdom and give it to local charities and churches in Georgia, that it doesn't go to waste. That's which amazing. I thought was very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I'm going to make you like something about this episode yet, Brian.
No.
So I do have to say that somewhere in Kingdom, there is an amazing metalsmith. Did you guys catch it? All the kids doing the archery that had lost limbs had really spiffy prosthetic metal pieces.
Okay, yeah, I totally need to rewatch that.
Well, they talked about when they were, Morgan's like, they got doctors, they're real good. He was going on about the kingdom's resources and how everybody here is skilled at what they do. It's like you're walking into a freaking union hall.
Yeah. So one of the prosthetic arm that one of the boys had that he was doing archery with looked like a legitimate suit of armor, from the elbow down. And of course he didn't have, movement in the fingers, but it was much better than a hook. So I have a bold prediction.
Oh, geez.
So, spoiler alert for non-comic book fans, one of our characters loses a limb. I predict that person
a long time ago.
Right, but, they've sort of muddled everything. I think that maybe in the Negan battle, somebody's going to lose a limb, and they're going to make a prosthetic, and that's how they're going to get away with not having to CGI out that person's limb.
I don't think that's ever going to happen because Kirkman said he would never do that to him.
You think
really?
so?
Did he say that in an interview? I missed that.
Yeah, that was it was a long time ago on a Talking Dead episode, and he said, "What's the one thing you regret?" So let's just say it. He said, "What's the one thing you regret?" And he goes, "My biggest regret to date is chopping off Rick Grimes' arm."
Yeah.
And and they're like, "Why?" He goes, "It was the dumbest mistake I could have ever done. It was something spur of the moment, and it had lasting repercussions all the way through, and I will never do that to Rick Grimes." So I don't think it's.
I totally thought they were going to do it to Carl. I mean, I really thought that in the way of Walking Dead muddling things up, that when in the season opener, when Negan was holding Carl down, I thought they were going to do it to Carl.
Me too. I honestly thought that's where we were going to lose the limb. So maybe it doesn't happen to Rick. Maybe it happens to one of the secondary characters who makes it another season or two. But I think it would be absolutely cool that that's how because they specifically, and of course they were talking about all of the losses in the war against the dead.
When the Wasted, I like that. The Wasted.
Yeah, the Wasted. Yeah. When they were showing the limbs and everything, but I felt like that there was too much effort put into that for that to be a throwaway. So that's my bold prediction.
Boom.
So this is my not so bold prediction, but you know how many of our characters are living other characters' lives in the series as compared to where they ended up in the television or the comic book. The comic book. I really see Carol living Michonne's life with Ezekiel. Although I do think that throwing Daryl into the whole muddle and keeping him in the kingdom is going to make for some interesting dynamics.
I don't think Daryl'll stay in kingdom unless Alexandra falls.
I think Ezekiel's going to let it slip that Carol's out there, and then he's going to be super pissed that Morgan never told him.
Either that or Ben is, because I could see Ezekiel wanting to keep that all to himself, and of course Morgan's kept the secret, but we just had that little tete-a-tete with Ben, and so he doesn't know that Carol's a secret. I could see Ben letting it slip.
That may be the way it's exposed.
Because, of course, it'll happen. Daryl's staying in Kingdom.
Right. And, I mean, Simon made it very clear that there were no take-backs down the road, that if they ever found Daryl in Alexandria, they would kill him.
Right. Right. So
until Negan's group is dealt with, he's dead or he's in the kingdom.
Banishment into Kingdom. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. I'm out of energy.
You're out of energy. Do you have any final thoughts for the rotting potpourri?
No, I hope this gets better. I hope we got all the dumb stuff out of the way. And we can get to it.
Marnell, do you have any final thoughts for the rotting potpourri?
I thought I did, but I can't remember. Yeah, I'll add it to the Facebook page if I don't, or if I do remember. It was something about when the saviors came to Alexandria. There was a little scene there that caught my eye.
So the only thing I want to bring up before we go, because I thought it was really cool, and it kind of goes to me really liking Richard as character. I liked when he was walking out with our group and he was like, it's not about soldiers. It's about everything we give, making the saviors stronger. Every time we feed them stronger. Every time we give them weapons, we make them more capable of fighting against us. He is such a great character. And he's kind of the only person who sees it clearly right now. I mean, really, of anybody. Like, he doesn't have the huge emotional tie-in that our group does because he didn't see his best friends getting beaten to death. He doesn't have Ezekiel's blind spot. He doesn't have Gregory's greed. He just purely wants to see the saviors fall.
Yeah.
So Richard's my favorite right now. Richard's the new Daryl.
I thought Ezekiel was your new favorite. God, I can't keep up.
I know. I'm kind of a sleaze like that. All right. Well, so next week
we meet a whole new group.
Yeah, because I think we're gonna pick up right where Rick left off.
Maybe. It could be 2 episodes away.
You're right.
Are they gonna pull a Glenn under the dumpster? Is that where these people have been hiding under a dumpster?
They look like it.
We didn't think Glenn would fit under there, but apparently all these people can. They've survived this long.
All right, ladies. Shall we take it?
Yes. One dead day at a time.
Trios are sloppy. Toodles.
Yeah. Bye.
Good night. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.